Our next presenter, my mum, Leah Petersen. So my mum is going to talk about me. And you'll find out what I was like, what I am like. Okay? Welcome.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about things I may not have done if I did not have a deaf daughter. So here she is here. I got to learn a new language, one that not many know. In fact, New Zealand Sign Language is classed as an endangered language under UNESCO. And with learning the language came the understanding too of deaf culture and how closely that ties in. There can't be one without the other. So this is here in Kelston Deaf School. So here I am signing to my son, and how special it is that it was me that taught my daughter her own unique language and culture, and the one that I'll never be fluent in or really part of, but in the unique position of being able to advocate for her as a deaf person. It opened up a new world of lifetime friendships of other parents, of the deaf community, of professionals, both here and all over the world. So many people from so many walks of life, I would never have met them. I helped form Northland Parents of Deaf Children and have been its treasurer for 25 years. We had some wonderful camps, and I have fond memory of one at Cooper's Beach where the caretaker came running over to us to tell us, unfortunately, we'd put the hangi down over a sewer line. The hangi turned out pretty tasty though. It brought a new vocation to me, to be a teacher aide and to work on the executive of the New Zealand Federation for Deaf Children's Group, and 10 years on the Board of Trustee at Kelston. I brought work in the disability sector at Parent to Parent, and then on to Te Ahu Trust where I work with many disabilities. And it was there that I got to work alongside my daughter when she was employed by Deaf Aotearoa. We had a lovely few years together, although technically I was answerable to her and her organisation. It was like she was my boss. There we are in the far corner, the two of us. There have been many memorable occasions and many trips around New Zealand and overseas to deaf conferences and seminars, and with her as my travel companion. We've been to Australia, USA, Sweden, Japan, Netherlands, Canada, Greece and Turkey, places I may never have gone. She herself travelled to Spain when she was 18 by herself, and she hijacked a group of 10 young policemen to help her find her hotel. So it was only right that on a short trip to Salt Lake City, I ventured out sightseeing and I hijacked the local Mormons to get a ride back to the airport. I got to see places that only she would take me. One in particular was a Canadian town called Hope. I'd never even heard of it, where she had researched that Rambo, the First Blood movie, had been shot in the old disused rail tunnels, miles from anywhere, deep in a canyon and spooky as hell. Then there was the occasion of the ghost tour in the rocks in Sydney. I'm signing away to her and she suddenly tells me that she's feeling very cold and she can feel the presence of something like a freeze coming up from the ground. Do I stay or do I run? In one of the many churches that we've visited over the years, she decided she must climb up these rickety steps up onto the balcony that was just sort of hanging on the top of the church. There's no wash here and no restrictions of the number of people crowding up there. I had to tell her my knees are knocking and you have to come down now. I got to visit many places I would normally have not been to, like the Boring Train Museum and the back blocks of Australia, where she dragged me around, hopping in and out of the carriages and the driver's seats. Yes, I admit it was very interesting and something that I would not have done myself. I thank you for helping me to get over my fear of roller coasters. How could I let her go on the Screaming California roller coaster on her own with no one to sign the safety notices to her? My knees were knocking while I was waiting in the line and I asked to be put somewhere safe and the operator just laughed at me. And then we went a second time. Alana was excited about seeing and touching snakes. I'm terrified of snakes. I don't go near them. I agreed to sign to her at a hands-on demo as long as I could have my back to them. They hung snakes around her neck and I wasn't looking as I signed away with my eyes tightly shut. In Turkey, they have a famous balloon ride. I was a bit scared of going on the balloon ride, worried about being up high and maybe an explosion. But yeah, I just had to beat Alana and do one of her adrenaline rides before her. Yes, and within months, Alana had done it as well. She's always been happy to dress up, and the first time we went together, she won a prize, a large bottle of French perfume, and she was only 10. Mary Ann would remember that. I never even got a smell of the perfume either. She kept it for herself. Now, too, I find it fun to dress up, especially I like this one of me as a Red Indian. She has a wonderful sense of humour and tells wonderful, funny stories. But there was the time when we were out walking and I'm signing to her, not seeing the overhanging flax bush, and I trip and I hit the ground. And she wonders where I've gone and bursts out laughing. And over she retells the story. Look at Mum signing, look away, look back. No, Mum, where's Mum gone? And laughing her head off. This is what I actually rely on Alana to do. I got a couple of dead ducks delivered to me and I kept them warm as she's always instructed me to do. But then I realised she was in Auckland and I thought, oh well, what the hell, I'm sure I can do it too. So I've now skinned a duck. The last thing you know, I'm sure I would not have done without having my deaf child, is to have stood up and given a presentation at an international conference in Greece that we did last year. She has given me the courage by her courage and her I can do attitude. In our flash clothes on board the celebrity cruise ship heading up to Alaska. What a wonderful, interesting and exciting life I've led. Thank you, Alana.
So now you've all heard from my mum. Was I a good child or an awful child? I wonder which. I know that I scared Mum lots when I was little, and that Spain story, yeah. The first day that we arrived in Spain, before we'd taken off, my parents were wondering if I was going to be okay taking off for a month to Spain when I was only 18 by myself. And they were, worried about, how I was going to take care of myself and was I going to be all right. And I said, look, I'm going to be fine. Don't worry. And I arrived 10 o'clock in the morning and I was looking around trying to find my hotel. And I saw a group of policemen and I thought, So I had my bags and I said, excuse me. And so I was saying, look, I'm deaf. And what happened? They looked for me. For 10 minutes. 10 policemen were looking around. And where was it? Just up there. On the third floor. Wasn't on the first floor at all. It was on the third level. Right up the top. And they were going back and forward trying to find it. And there it was right in front of us, but up. And I was tired from jet lag. It was my excuse anyway. Thanks, Mum. Thanks very much for my storytelling about my upbringing and about having a deaf daughter. Moving on, the next presenter is... Where's my paper? Oh, it's me. I'm the next presenter. Okay, so let's start. So, lots of people in the general populace think that I teach people A, B, C and D and the rest of the alphabet, but as a sign language tutor, that's not what I do. I teach sign language in the same way that an English teacher teaches English. English teachers don't just teach the alphabet, do they? My friends think that my job is great because I can play games on the iPad. You can download heaps of things, Alana. But I say to them, actually, it's a work tool. And they think, oh, no. You can download all these cool apps and play these games, but it's not exactly what I do. They really don't think that I do any work at all. Lots of teachers in the mainstream schools don't really know what it is that I'm going to be doing, and I arrange a lesson plan for them. And what happens is I arrive at the school and it's the assembly that they've organised for me. It's like a roadshow. Here I am standing up, signing in front of the whole school, but I'm not a roadshow. My family think that I just race around in my car with the gravel roads, and I have seen a duck on a gravel road actually, so I should save those kind of things if I run them over for Christmas. So what I do teach is not magic. It's not something that I just know how to do. I teach children from the age of 9 about science, the environment. But remember, I have to teach them also about what's happened in the past. I'm like Doctor Who as well. 13 of me, really. The reason being that I have to change my role and change my style of signing to match the children. And they all have different styles and different understandings of the past and the future, so I have to teach them that as well. So I teach my children concepts in the English language and how to translate that into sign language. That's my job, just like this person's doing here on a one-on-one situation. I encourage them and they eventually learn more and more. There are 5 classes that I go to regularly. I teach them sign language, everyday sign language. We follow the theme of the class, whether that's matariki or the environment. And it's really good to encourage socialisation for those hearing children who have a deaf child in their class. After school, I'm still working. I have Skype sessions with teacher aides who are in remote areas. So we have a video conference tutelage happening. Sometimes I visit homes and teach the family and the children sign language as well. It's a lot of work. That's my car. It's flash, small and speedy. And it's always covered in mud, but I have to be sure to make sure that the tyres are really good to match all the different roads that I'm driving on. I can't tell you exactly what schools that I work at, but I can tell you that Monday and Tuesday I'm going to the far north and I do the circuit. Wednesday I'm in Whangarei, Thursday I'm around Whangarei, Friday I go to Auckland or to Hamilton or I hang around in the office. Resources are everyday, part of my everyday. So I know that the children can access a resource where you read a book and have the signed version next to it. On the far side is the very valuable resource, the Sign Language Dictionary, and if you have time yourself, you can have a look at that. The whiteboard is the #1 tool, and I've got a variety of sizes. I've got 5 different ones from small to large, and that gives the students time to write down what it is that they're trying to communicate, and eventually they will advance with their language. This is a real example of what I'm doing with my student. We were talking about the World War, and this is how our communication goes. The conversation starts with me working out what kind of concepts the children are aware of, and if they have the wrong word perhaps, then I correct them so that they know what they're doing in the classroom. And I also teach Māori culture. I have this certificate, here's the proof. So I'm teaching Māori students about their own culture and language so that they grow up with those Māori concepts as well. again, a real example of the work that I do. The first line is the English, and then the reo underneath that. The river rush that we have here is another resource that we use. Puna is an app that you can learn words, vocab for dog, cat, and it's a really great resource if you get a chance. In terms of deaf culture, I know that some people wonder, why is Alana using her face? Is she angry? And so I come along and I show them what the facial expressions mean, and so they know, and I know, when they're being naughty. Deaf children love to sit by a window so that they can see what's going on. Not exactly next to the window, but just so that they can see what's happening, and I'm exactly the same. So my role as a New Zealand Sign Language tutor, I work for Kelston Deaf Education Centre, and I live here in Whangarei. So let's have the interpreter turn her voice off and you can follow along. On, please, interpreter. So the first one was clown. The second one was witch. The third one, robot. And the last was for tutor. So what do you think it is that I do? I'm a witch. Ah, maybe I am. Well, I am magic, I have to say. So, thank you for listening to my story about sign language tutoring. Thank you. Moving on. Oh, thanks, Mum. Mita. We know Mita has 4 girls with his partner, Kathy, and he's going to be speaking next. Mita, there you are.
Thank you, Alana. Tēnā koe. So this is my name sign. This is my name sign. Mita. That's me. Te piri o te aha. This is the sign. This is how we've set up the sign for Te piri o te aha. This is from the Māori Leadership Group, and it's all about supporting and leadership. This has come from Esther, who had died, and so our group has been named for her. She was fluent in Te Reo, she was an amazing woman, and she died recently. So this is the sign for Esther as part of the group's Te piri o te aha sign.
That represents the lungs.
Represents the lungs. Now, accessible marae. What does this mean? People with disabilities, no matter who they are, have not had access to marae. So as you can see there, our group was visiting marae all over Te Tautokau. And we asked them to look at their own culture, their own tikanga, for people with disabilities to allow different things like dogs on the marae, wheelchairs. There were no wheelchair access on marae, so we asked for that. And this kuia, this was the first time she'd ever had been able to get onto the marae with her wheelchair. These are all the marae that we visited in Te Tautokau to present our challenges to them, and we asked them to make their marae accessible for all whānau. All of these marae were very open to things. We put out 3 videos, and the first one was about a woman being karanga, and being able to be on the marae in a wheelchair, a deaf person being able to stand on the taumata by using an interpreter, and having lower tables for people that needed that in the kitchens. We also, one of our kaupapa is to support youth suicide and supporting whānau that have had that experience. After we visited those marae, we went back to see if they had made any changes to their marae. And most of them had accepted the changes that we asked for, except there was only one. The difficulty was allowing guide dogs on the marae for blind Ngāti Kāpu. So we had two hui in Whangarei and one in Rotorua. And we did that, and we were talking about whanahawa as a whole, people with disabilities, not only. And so we were presenting to these groups. And this is Te Ropu Whaiora in Papatoetoe, and where we were presenting there. And we were talking about Māori language and how we can support each other and support with sign language. This marae here is Ruamoko. Group visited Deaf Education Centre, the first deaf marae. It's actually been refurbished completely, and so it's a brand new marae now to be opened very soon. We also presented, you know Johnny Wilkinson from Te Aho Trust? He set this up, and it was for the International Day of the Disabled, and all disabled were welcome, came from all over Te Taitokerau. We also, our group Te Piri o Te Hā, won a Social Innovations Award. Well, we actually came third, and Ngāti Hene came first. That was fabulous. Ngāti Hene won the prestigious award. Another project, our kaupapa, you know, the Treaty of Waitangi. In the Waitangi Treaty Grounds, it was the first time we made accessible tourism, so people with disabilities were able to access the treaty grounds for the first time ever. And Roimata was giving the guided tour for the history for all of us. It was interpreted. You can see there are all the motor scooters, golf carts, everything. We had a hikoi all around the grounds and learned all about it. First time this has ever happened, Margaret was interpreting, so we got full access. And that's it, you know. This is the kaupapa of Te Piri o Te Hā. We're going to have another National Māori Deaf Hui coming up. Okay, and so kia ora to you, that's it. Oh no, that's not it. But this is our vision, and this is what we want to achieve. We want accessible tourism, we want Māori sign language, we want trilingual interpreters. Because Te Piri o Te Hā also would like to become our own political party. We would like to set up our own Māori Deaf organisation. We'd like to set up Facebook, spread the word, and set up our own equipment services. And there we are, out and proud. And that's the end of my presentation. Kia ora tātou.
Okay, Mita, hello, looking. Thank you so much for your presentation about your work. Thank you. We have one more speaker, the last speaker, and then we'll all be ready to go home. But just before we leave, please wait for Mita's karakia. We don't know what the weather's like out there, and being deaf, we can't hear if it's rainy anyway. So we'd like him to bless us before we can all go home safely. Please take some food with you, if you like, so that you can be sustained for your journeys. Some people at the front door, when they came in, they wrote on a piece of paper a word or phrase that they wanted to know in sign language. So I have them right here. The first word, marae. The next one's a phrase. I love cats. Love cats. So the way you show a cat can be like this. But love cats, like that. One more phrase. Can I help you? Follow me. Scrunch your eyebrows down because you're asking a question. Your left hand flat, your right hand on the top of it, asking, can you help towards that person? Can I help you? Okay. First word, marae. Second one, I love cats. Third one, can I help? Great. Good for you all to practice. Nice one. I think that's all. Sorry. There was one more. This is a sentence. Winter, like this, is coming. I need to keep warm. Winter, coming. Need to keep warm. Okay? Winter. It's the same sign as for cold. You know, your teeth are chattering. Okay? Any more? Okay. Our last presenter for this evening is Don Banks. I'm not sure what he's going to talk about, but he's a really funny person. And as the last speaker for this evening, then we'll have a karakia and we'll all be ready to go home. I hope you've enjoyed your evening. Okay, Don, welcome. You know John Banks? Yeah, that's me. Just joking. Yeah, I'm always saying cheeky things.
Bye.
This is when I was a baby boy. I was 3 at the time. My sister's the baby, and she was 9 months old. And my older sister, I think she was about 16, her name's Margaret. And my other sister, the baby, was Alison. It's me at the top, and my mother, and my sister Alison. My mum, she used to teach school at Wainui. Right, you got it interpreted good. This is a school photo. That's me. And this was in I was 16 at Kelston School. And that's our class. If you know where this is, it's at Titirangi in Auckland. at the top at the back, that was where the borders were. And we slept in either the top one or the bottom one, whether we were boys or girls. And there were, I stayed there until I was 16, 17 and 18. This is from my blazer. I don't know where that is. I'm not sure whether it's old and eaten by moths or I've got no idea where it is, but this is the badge from it. Again, this is school from Kelston, and all of us were prefects. That's me there. And the reason that I'm not smiling is because the sun was in our eyes when they took the picture, so that's why I'm kind of hunched over it like that. And this is my beautiful girlfriend, and her name is Eileen. When she was a little girl, she used to do this a lot, and so that is why she's used that for her sign name. And I know her from school. This is from my birthday in 1965 when I was 21. I went to Parua Bay Hall and had the party there. It's my father, me, my wife Eileen, and my mother. My parents were both school teachers. And my parents worked at Wainui. Here we go. This is our wedding day. We were married in 1965 on April the 19th, and we've been married for 47 years just last month. Yeah, so we had a good dinner. This is my family, my sister Margaret, my brother, me, and my other sister. There were 6 of us, but 2 are gone now, so there's just the 4 of us. And we went up north to Russell, because this is my daughter, and she was married. Hello, hello, they're right here. I can see them. Stand up, stand up. There they are. Oh. And this is a certificate from my work. I had an apprenticeship and I worked for Cullum Engineering. And I had an apprenticeship for 5 years, 1,000 hours for learning with the work as a boilermaker. From Whangarei to Auckland, I went 3 times so that I could do some study there. And I got a certificate. And when I graduated, I had to be nudged to say when my name was called. I shook my hands, got my certificate, and that was it. Oh, this one here. This is a long time ago. This is the pay that I used to get. It was in pounds. £5 a week. Nothing at all. And that's the date, the hours. And this here is my boss's son. And we were always together, working together. And we made things like bridges, and we're just wondering, why did they, that beautiful new bridge, send that to China? I don't know why. And I was just pretending that it was ice cream, because this is Greece, actually. And here's me saying, hello, hello. So that's me with the hat on right at the back, and we're all of us standing on a bridge. So this is for a railway bridge in Hamilton, because they were replacing the one that was there. Very, very heavy. They put it on the truck, and the harbour bridge though, they had to go right the way around. And this is another thing, you know, how they make things pretty, like making Māori designs. This is what they do in Henderson, and we did this as well. So they put that on the truck, 2 o'clock in the morning, took it away. This is me. doing all the cutting, and I burned my hands quite a lot, trying to get all the rivets, really hard work. So what you can see there has gone to Auckland, to Eden Park, and that's my boss. He passed away about 3 years ago, and he worked from 1958. He started and established his business, and I think he 50 however many years. Thank you. Thank you, Don, for your presentation. I hope you've all enjoyed the whole evening. We have some alphabet cards just to the back of the room, so if you would like to learn your alphabet or some simple signs, then help yourself. Take them for when you go home. You can also see the online dictionary. It's up to you, whichever of those resources that you like. My job's done now, so I'll hand over to Matt. Please keep your seats because we need to wait for the karakia before we go home.
Thank you so much, Alana. That was wonderful. That makes my job so much easier. And a special thanks to Harry and to Tanya, who have organised all the presenters tonight, and also to Vicky. Is Vicky still here? Vicky, who I know has done a huge amount of legwork for this event. Just a few quick thank yous. I need to thank Creative Northland, who provided the PA for us tonight free of charge. I need to thank Te Whai Aotearoa, who sponsored the food, and also the hall hireage tonight. iSign, who paid for our interpreters to be here. Food for Life, who gave us a good discount on the food. Company of Giants for their assistance. Thanks Ash for putting all of the hall together. Channel North, thank you so much you guys for coming along and supporting local events. Obviously, I've mentioned our presenters and our interpreters. To the AUT students, you guys still here? Well done. That was awesome. You guys sounded amazing, and I know you're turning around now and driving back to Auckland. So travel safe and come back again. And lastly, to the deaf community, so much. This is the most members of the community I've seen at an event, and it's fantastic to have you guys here. And thank you so much for coming. So travel safe home, everybody, and I'll turn you over to Mita.
I'm just going to keep it short because my boss is here, Ngāti Hine, and you will come to the stage. Thank you, thank you. This is Janice from Ngāti Hine, who has been doing all the hard work sourcing funding for Te Piri o Te Ha. So it's a big thank you from us to you, Janice, for working with whānau Hoa and their whānau. Not really my boss, eh? I know that you don't like that word, but I still think of you as my boss. So, kia ora. Choice. Thank you. All sorts of different presentations this evening, and I have to say it was really amazing. I could see some people's jaws hit the ground as they were watching it, but it's just been fantastic. I hope that anyone who's hearing here in the audience can see how wonderful the deaf world is. Thank you all for the hearing audience members for coming. It's really amazing to see so many people. In the past we've had a smaller group and I was a bit nervous coming up here thinking, oh, what am I going to talk about? But anyway, so Again, we ask you, Father, to bless us. Thank you for everything. Thank you for all your creation, for your heart, for helping us solve our problems. Amen.